What's going on, Draft Sickos? Welcome to the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel. Today, we are bringing you the first official 2026 NBA mock draft. It's still very early in the cycle. These are some impressions from our off-season scouting work, some very early impressions from exhibitions and the early non-conference schedule. Either way, we're having a great time. This is going to be an amazing cycle. We have a loaded crop of talent up top and a really great batch of depth extended all the way through, I think, the second round and beyond. If you want to see the full 2-round mock draft, head to NoCeilingsNBA.com. We're going to break down the top 30 here today. Without further ado, let's get right into it. With the first pick, thanks to our Tankathon sim, some chaos has already ensued. The Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock. With the first pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Cameron Boozer out of Duke. If the Timberwolves end up with this pick, it'd be an incredible consolation to a season that would have gone off the rails. As we've seen in recent years, though, the lottery can get crazy. There was a lot of debate over this pick, mainly between Cam Boozer and Darren Peterson. A backcourt of Peterson and Anthony Edwards for the next 10-plus years would be incredibly fun, but the well-roundedness at the forward spot by Boozer edged Peterson out in a close vote between No Ceilings members. Boozer is one of the most physically and mentally ready prospects we've seen in a long time. He's a dominant rebounder, smart passer, versatile scorer, and consistent defender. The nitpicks with his game revolve mostly around whether or not he can be a true number one option. Well, that wouldn't be an issue with Edwards on the team. Boozer's immediate injection of feel, skill, and physicality would give the Timberwolves a ton of flexibility and talent in the front court moving forward. With the second pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Darren Peterson. Brooklyn would be ecstatic to land Darren Peterson, one of the most complete and NBA-ready lead guard prospects that we've seen in quite some time. It's an easy first overall pick profile in any class. Equipped with dynamic physical tools and a mature frame, Peterson is a creative and polished multiple-level scorer alongside advanced playmaking ability and real two-way upside. Brooklyn needs to get a face of the franchise and potential superstar from this rebuild. There's little doubt that Peterson fits the bill. With the third pick, the Sacramento Kings select A.J. Debonsa out of BYU. The start of the season has not exactly gone according to plan for the Sacramento Kings. Luckily for them, in this mock draft exercise, they managed to jump to third in a draft with a pretty clear big three at the top. A.J. Debonsa would be a wonderful prize for a rough season in Sacramento. He'd instantly help fill the utter lack of forward depth and would have a plethora of other scoring options to take some of the pressure off on that end early on in his career, such that he could bring along his elite scoring arsenal slowly. Defensively, Debonsa has shown some impressive flashes, and he would have a clear role as the other mobile forward alongside Keegan Murray going forward. With the fourth pick, the Indiana Pacers select Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina. The backslide of the Pacers this season due to Halliburton's injury might end up as a blessing in disguise. Fresh off of a finals run, Indiana lands one of the draft's biggest upside swings in Caleb Wilson, a 6'10" forward who moves like a guard and thrives in controlled chaos. Wilson's unique blend of length, bounce, and fluidity gives him real mismatch potential. He's comfortable facing up and hitting faders in the mid-post, using his functional handle to create space and rise up into jumper that are tough to contest due to the size and release point. The handle can get a little loose when he's overtaxed as a creator, but the creation flashes are worth betting on. Defensively, Wilson is a havoc-wreaking event creator. His 7-foot-plus wingspan fuels blocks, strips, and deflections all over the floor, and he covers ground with the kind of ease that coaches dream about. You add in sharp, creative, connective playmaking flashes, legitimate rebounding instincts, and you've got a Jonathan Isaac meets Tari Eason meets Lamar Odom archetype tailor-made for Indy's frenetic style. With the fifth pick in this mock draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Michael Brown Jr. out of Louisville. After obtaining this pick in what is potentially the heist of the century in the trade with the New Orleans Pelicans, the Hawks find themselves in position to get Michael Brown Jr., a tantalizing option who could be part of the current team and potentially be the star of their future. In Brown, the Hawks would be getting a dynamic guard with special athleticism and a terrifying set of perimeter skills. Brown has parking lot range, is a high-level passer, and can play both on and off the ball. It'd be great if he could improve his efficiency around the basket and continue to add strength, but neither is a major concern at this point for his future outlook as we look forward in the college season. He's trending in the right direction after a strong showing in the FIBA U19s, and hopefully will show more flashes in the future. With the sixth pick, the Washington Wizards select Jaden Quaintance out of Kentucky. Not very many bad teams are as fun to watch as the Washington Wizards. Kaishan George has been a point forward of sorts, and he's been one of the most versatile young players in the NBA early on. Trey Johnson hasn't been uber efficient, but there are flashes of real promise. Alex Sarr has developed a game that's closer to the basket compared to anything that we've seen. Some would suggest that the Wizards should get a point guard here, but adding the best available talent should be the play. Jaden Quaintance makes a strong case to be a best available candidate. Jaden has reportedly grown to about 6'11 and weighs close to 250 pounds. And even though he's a second-year prospect, Quaintance is younger than many freshmen in this class. While he was in his age 17 season, JQ was 19th in the nation in block percentage and was a solid rebounder as a freshman. He also shows some strong passing feel. With the league looking to be as big and as skilled as possible, Quaintance could give Washington a front court that could rival Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. With the 7th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Tunde Yesefu out of Baylor. The Charlotte Hornets had a great draft in 2025, bringing in 4 rookies who were already playing minutes in Con Knipple, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Sion James, and Liam McNeely. The organization has made it a point to bring in players who make quick decisions, are physically ready to handle the NBA, and offer versatility in terms of the perimeter talent that they bring in. Tunde Yesefu would complement LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and the rest of the young core with his frame at 6'5", with a reported 6'9" wingspan, athleticism, and driving ability. The more players that can attack the rim for this Hornets squad, the better. And if Yesefu's defense can translate along with his improved jump shooting, well, this could be an excellent selection for Charlotte and their future. With the 8th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Nate Ament out of Tennessee. It's easy to be intrigued by a prospect like Nate Ament. It's not common for human beings of his size to be as fluid and skilled as he is. Listed at 6'10", Ament has a unique blend of coordination, fluidity, and hand-eye coordination. That alone doesn't make you a potential star, but it does create a solid foundation to build upon. Ament is especially intriguing because of his ability to handle the ball, shoot, and mix in some passing flashes as well. Ament had an inflated role in high school where he handled the ball a ton and was asked to create for himself and others regularly. At this point in his physical development, it might be a stretch to imagine that he'll be able to do the same thing at Tennessee. The highlights with him will be a ton of fun, and it's almost impossible to pass up on a guy with his skill set and height. For whoever ends up taking him in this range, patience will be the key word as he gets stronger. He's going to need to grow into his body. You cannot draft Nate Ament in this range expecting a fully formed, ready to contribute from day one dude. If a team gives him adequate time and support, though, we may have a very, very special player on our hands here. With the 9th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Hans Steinbeck out of Washington. The Toronto Raptors have a lot of depth at different positions between established veteran starters and recent draft picks, but one area where this team lacks is size on the interior behind Jakob Poeltl. Already, the Raptors have had to experiment with small ball lineups given Poeltl's recent absence, and the results haven't worked out so well. Hans Steinbeck would give this team a backup big man who also has a high ceiling in the long term. Steinbeck was a monster in the FIBA U19 play this past summer as a ferocious rebounder, athletic finisher off 2 feet, and emerging face-up scorer and jump shooter. If Steinbeck can continue his two-way play at Washington this year, selecting him in this range may not be so crazy come June. With the 10th pick, Memphis Grizzlies are back on the clock and they select Braylon Mullins out of UConn. The Grizzlies have been in the media for all the wrong reasons and seem to have some sort of frustrations boiling to the surface. This team will need to add players who can succeed whether the team is contending or rebuilding. Braylon Mullins comes into this class projected as the best shooting prospect in the draft. Floor spacers can make life easier for all NBA-level talents by providing driving lanes, but they can also simplify plays on teams that are still figuring out how to prioritize their players. Considering how both Reed Shepherd and Con Knipple were both drafted in the top 5 in previous drafts, Memphis could be the winners of the draft if Mullins falls to them at 10. With the 11th pick in the draft, the New York Knicks select Isaiah Evans out of Duke. Some may be surprised to see the Knicks drafting in this range, but the success of the young Wizards in this simulation gives the Knicks a lottery pick. New York's veteran-led roster makes it difficult for young players to come in and find a place in the rotation, even with their new head coach, Mike Brown. Guys like Tyler Kolek and Ariel Harparty are having trouble finding consistent minutes. Isaiah Evans is an interesting pick here because he could be an exception with a skill set unique enough to crack the Knicks roster, even if it's a small role. Isaiah Evans is one of the most electric floor spacers in the country. In a limited role for the Duke Blue Devils last season, Evans took it upon himself to be as influential as possible when he did find the floor, either by creating havoc as a shooter or by competing and giving good effort on the defensive end of the floor. Evans is a good mover on the move as he knows how to find his balance and get his feet set. even after running off a flurry of screens and his man chasing close behind. Evans is okay on the ball, but there's a ton of room for growth there. He kind of plays at one pace with the ball in his hands, but that can be detrimental because he's not very fast. If he can learn to mix tempos more and be tighter with his handle, he could become more of a threat with the ball in his hands as well. With the 12th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder are on the clock, and they select Sean Abayev. I know what you're thinking. Thunder, again? Well, OKC has 4 first-round picks at this point in the season. As one of the most talented and deepest rosters in the league, OKC is going to be able to go in a number of directions. That is, of course, given that OKC even keeps most of these picks. OKC has a plethora of super talented depth in the backcourt, and given the emergence of AJ Mitchell as well, there's not much of a need for the guard position. However, OKC has shown a desire to continue to take talented players with upside, regardless of roster logjams. Insert Cincinnati freshman Sean Abayev. The 6'7" ball handler has an intriguing set of tools. He could become a fascinating piece with OKC given his positional versatility and insane shot-making ability. For now, OKC continues to add fun pieces to the treasure chest of assets. At pick 13, the Dallas Mavericks select Malik Thomas. The basketball gods clearly love drama after shocking the world last year by trading a prime Luka Doncic and somehow being rewarded by the ping-pong balls of destiny. Dallas finds itself back in the late lottery looking to restock its backcourt. With Cooper Flagg stretched thin as a lead creator and Kyrie Irving dealing with age and injury, the Mavericks add some much-needed guard juice here in Arkansas guard Malik Thomas. Thomas is a 6'5" combo guard with good length who plays with real fervor. Thomas brings real role versatility to the table as he can serve as a lethal off-ball shooter while still feeling comfortable creating his own looks off the bounce. He's shifty, confident, and competitive, blending shot making with secondary playmaking flashes and a nose for the ball on the glass. He's not a pure point guard, but Thomas's ability to create for others, pressure the rim, and space the floor makes him a seamless complement alongside the core for the Mavericks once the roster stabilizes. Most importantly, he plays with the kind of relentless chip that Nico Harrison has been trying to bake into the franchise's identity. At pick 14, Oklahoma City's back on the clock. And what do you get, the team that has everything? I guess it's just more of what they already have. Ben Sturtz put up some of the most insane numbers in the country last year, but still has some skeptics about whether or not it's going to translate to a power conference. If Sturtz gets close to replicating what he showed at Drake, he's going to go somewhere in this range with his shooting, playmaking, and defensive playmaking. The Thunder have never really shied away from taking guards, especially if they've shown high feel and versatility. Sturtz would fit like a glove into their schemes and continue to provide important depth as the team continues to move forward and get more expensive. At 15, the Charlotte Hornets select Koa Pete. Now, just as a disclaimer, we created this mock draft before Koa Pete's debut where he went off for 30. And with a 30-piece under his belt, a dominant performance against the reigning national champions in the Florida Gators, we can expect a rise on our next board. Pete's NBA-ready frame and exceptional downhill game have already paid dividends, while his jump shot still needs work. You can get away with not shooting three-pointers when you can get to the basket at will and, show some skill hitting tough middies, while drawing 12 free throws against one of the best front courts in the country. Koa Pete definitely on the rise, but will still have some questions to ask. At pick 16, the Atlanta Hawks select Chris Senek Jr. In Senek Jr., Atlanta arguably drafts the highest upside big in the class. He's an incredible ball of clay. We're talking about an athletic, fluid-moving 6'11" big man with modern tools and a projectable shooting stroke. Ideally, Senek Jr.'s NBA role is as a stretch big who can finish plays above the rim and protect it on the other end. His selection aligns with Atlanta's collection of young athletic and toolsy bigs with shooting upside, who can be impactful members of their front court over both the short and long term. At pick 17, the San Antonio Spurs select Dame Sarr out of Duke. The Spurs end up with this pick after a complicated series of deals, and with it, they take a swing on one of the higher upside players left in the draft. Dame Sarr made the move to Duke after strong showings for Barcelona and at the Nike Hoop Summit, and he enters the year as one of the biggest wild cards for the 2026 NBA draft. The 6'8" wing has the size and shooting potential to make a lottery case quickly. While Duke has plenty of talent on the wing, Sarr's size and mobility could be the differentiating factor that allows him to break through even in the crowded Blue Devils rotation. At 18, the Boston Celtics on the clock select Thomas Haug out of Florida. The Celtics are plugging along this year, and time will tell which way the team is trending when it comes to the draft. For now, Boston has been scrappy and has gotten some sensational play from Jaylen Brown while Jason Tatum recovers from his injury. There's a clear need for some front court depth for Boston, regardless of some of the solid play from Neemias Queta. But there's also too much value here for Boston with a player on the board like Thomas Haug. The Florida Junior is a pick-and-pop weapon who plays with great passion and energy. He's a maniac on the court who does all of the little things that the stars might not want to do. Haug would be a fantastic get for the Celtics as a rotation piece with great two-way upside. At 19, the Miami Heat select LeBaron Philon out of Alabama. If there's one thing that Miami looks for out of prospects, it's Heat culture, baby. And LeBaron Philon might as well have it tattooed on his forearm. Philon measured at 6'2 3/4 without shoes, with a 6'1/4 wingspan at the 2025 NBA Draft Combine, and brings a kind of toughness, grit, and defensive pride that makes Eric Spoelstra giddy. Philon's perfect for the NBA's early season trend of pressuring the ball 94 feet. He's an absolute pest at the point of attack and plays with real grit. Offensively, Philon thrives at breaking down defenses and making plays for his teammates. His vision and willingness to spray the ball over the court make him valuable, though his leap this season will hinge on consistency as a shooter. Philon's finishing inside also needs more polish after dipping below 50% in the half court as a freshman, but his pace, processing, and toughness fit seamlessly with the team that Miami already has. At 20, the Denver Nuggets select Darius Acuff Jr. out of Arkansas. Few players have done more to improve their stock in the draft cycle's infancy than Darius Acuff Jr. Many evaluators have been familiar with Acuff, but seeing him in a system like Arkansas makes his evaluation a little bit easier. Acuff dropped 17 points twice over in exhibitions against Cincinnati and Memphis, showing good feel and scoring prowess. Considering the Nuggets have to be more prudent with their depth, they would do well to add a player who can get downhill and play with some toughness at the guard spot. With the 21st pick, the Detroit Pistons select Billy Richmond III out of Arkansas. The Pistons have made it clear they value plus defenders with plus athletic tools. Billy Richmond checks those boxes while also adding a bit of crazy to the equation, and that is a compliment. Richmond's a toolsy guard who makes his living on defense, crashing the glass, attacking the rim, and in the open court. He does all the little things while also sprinkling in some stunning playmaking flashes. If he could shoot it at all this year, it's looked okay in the preseason, Richmond has a great chance to skyrocket up boards and sneak into the first round. At 22, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Yaxel Lendeborg out of Michigan. After swinging on a wing with star upside with their first pick and later adding a plug-and-play guard, OKC goes with the potential plug-and-play route in Yaxel Lendeborg. Lendeborg's ability to leverage his strength, skill, feel, and motor on both ends of the floor is a wonderful fit in Oklahoma City. His rebounding, defensive playmaking, and connected passing all allow him to complement their stars and core without requiring much usage. Even with a deep rotation that will be tough to crack, this sets OKC up with depth that's ready to step in whenever needed and allows them to do whatever they want to do with their last first rounder at 27. At 23, the Milwaukee Bucks select Niakolas Avdalis from Virginia Tech by way of Greece. The Greek freak gets a disciple to develop. Niakolas Avdalis doesn't have the physical advantage that Giannis has, but he's a very unique player. Avdalis is a playmaking forward standing at 6'9" with a unique blend of unselfishness and on-ball ability. There are real questions about his ability to shoot the ball from all levels with any consistency. The reason why you take a chance on a guy like Avdalis, though, is because he can really pass the ball, and he can manipulate defenses with his ability to spray passes all over the floor. The issue is that he never shoots it well, shows real limitations in creating for himself, and eventually hesitates to put up shots. You end up with a very limited offensive player. Earlier reports from Virginia Tech claim that he's bulked up a ton and looks physically different already. Avdalis will be given a unique opportunity to run the show for the Hokies this season. Hopefully, he puts up a ton of shots and shows improvement before the draft rolls around. At 24, the Golden State Warriors select Braden Burries out of Arizona. Arizona has a nice group of prospects coming in this season, headlined by not only Koa Pete, but also Burries. The electric scoring combo guard has handles for days, isn't afraid to mix it up in driving lanes, and can really score off the bounce. He's the kind of player who could mesh well in a motion-heavy system that the Golden State Warriors utilize. Burries can work off screens, catch and go in handoff situations, and knock down catch-and-shoot jumpers off kick-out passes. There would be an immediate role for Burries, while also putting him in a situation around veteran guards like Steph Curry to learn from for his long-term development. The Warriors love guys who could dribble, pass, and shoot, and Burries does have question marks about his long-range shooting, but he does have enough potential as a mid-range shooter that you buy into the development long-term. At 25, the Los Angeles Lakers select Pat Gamba out of Duke. The Lakers adding Gamba is a fun outcome for a few reasons. Even if the DeAndre Ayton experiment works perfectly, he'll be due for a payday. There's also the possibility that Ayton falls back into older habits by trying to dominate in the mid-range area. Pat Gamba could be the answer to LA's long-term questions at the center position. He plays hard, is a very good rebounder and rim protector, he's got good size, and is capable of paving passing lanes open for players like Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves to exploit. He also shows some fun passing feel, which could be used by Coach Redick in the short roll or around the elbow and mid-post. If recent history shows us anything, a productive Duke big man is normally worth lottery consideration, so Gamba being taken at 25 could be a major steal. At 26, the Chicago Bulls select Bryson Tiller out of Kansas. After a red-hot start to the season that's vaulted them to the top of the East, the Bulls find themselves in an unfamiliar position of late, picking late in the first round. Enter Bryson Tiller, a listed 6'11", 240-pound redshirt freshman out of Kansas who's quietly rebuilding his draft stock after an injury dimmed his once top prospect shine during his time with the overtime elite. Tiller fits the Arturas Karnisovas mold to perfection. He's big, versatile, can make an impact without a bunch of touches. He thrives doing little things that Josh Giddey could help look like big things. He's a smart cutter and play finisher who can clean the glass. There's a quiet maturity to his game, always playing within himself. If he's to rise as a dude in this class, he'll have to prove that he could stretch the floor, as he's always felt more comfortable in the mid-range. Defensively, he brings the kind of front-court flexibility Chicago's front office covets. Tiller's capable of sliding with wings on the perimeter and muscling up and banging with larger forwards in the post. His blend of size, mobility, and low-maintenance impact makes him an ideal late first-round swing for a team that's rediscovered its competitive edge. At 27, OKC back on the clock, they take Duke's Nicholas Hamenia. What a shocker. The Thunder have cleaned up during this mock draft exercise. With 4 first-rounders, there are plenty of paths OKC could go towards adding to their roster. Odds are OKC would eventually have to try to trade some of these picks. However, that's not what we project at No Ceilings. Instead of moving the picks in this exercise, the Thunder are a heck of a long-term talent here in Kamenia. The Duke freshman wing is a high IQ player with a gorgeous shot from outside. He might not put up eye-opening box scores this year, but he's going to be a player who knows how to make winning plays for the Blue Devils. He could be a multi-year college player, and if so, would be one of the top breakout candidates next season as a sophomore. The tools are there, and Hamenia really stands out with his natural feel for the game. Time will tell if he'll be a true one and done, but for now, the Thunder take a piece that could become a legit piece for the future. At 28, the Bulls are back on the clock, and they select Alex Condon out of Florida. He had a rough showing in Florida's first game against Coapete and the Arizona Wildcats, but Alex Condon is an enticing prospect for multiple different reasons. His defensive versatility would be a huge boost for a Bulls team that has gotten off to a hot start on the strength of their offense. Condon's biggest question mark at this point is whether he can be a true spacing threat or not, given that his shooting volume was arguably a bigger concern than his percentages from deep. Condon going 0-for-1 from deep in Florida's opening was not great to see. The 6 turnovers weren't pretty, but aren't likely to indicate any sort of trend. If Condon can continue to switch across front court positions effectively, run out in transition, and take and make a couple more triples per game, he could make people forget about his tough opening game. At 29, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Kareem Lopez from the New Zealand Breakers out of the NBL. Lopez is an interesting player. He has good size for a position and an interesting ball handler who can pass the ball. He's pretty good at attacking closeouts and has shown growth so far as a shooter in the NBL. Shooting is going to be the swing skill for him, though. So far through 10 games, Lopez is shooting 44.8% on threes on 2.9 attempts per game. Not huge volume, but overall that comes out to 13 of 29. He's also shooting 76.5% from the free throw line, also on low volume. He's only taking 1.7 per game. The volume may not be there yet, but the early signs are encouraging. Lopez is intriguing tools and size, but whether or not he puts it together will be the question. Using a late first-round pick on a prospect like this is always going to be worth it, considering he could potentially severely outplay this draft slot. And at pick 30, rounding out the first round, the Washington Wizards select Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech. The Washington Wizards have numerous questions at the point guard position. Bub Carrington hasn't emerged yet as a long-term answer. CJ McCollum may not be on this roster next year, and Keyshawn George is best suited as a secondary ball handler. Is Trey Johnson going to develop as a lead creator? If not, the point guard room could still use another body. Christian Anderson is set for a breakout season at Texas Tech as a pick-and-roll guard who can create, score from all 3 levels, shoot off movement, and operate without the ball in his hands. He showed some great defensive chops for Germany this past summer in FIBA U19 play and consistently played in big spots for the Red Raiders last season. Anderson has shown up in the biggest games in college and overseas play. If he's able to prove he's ready to create and operate on higher usage, then he could be a versatile backcourt piece for the Washington Wizards moving forward. Thanks for watching this NBA mock draft by No Ceilings. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel for more NBA draft content all year long.